Hi everyone, this is Justin. He's going to be talking about the Battle of Gettysburg. It's the 150th anniversary, so it's very important. So you should listen to him. Go, Justin.
Also, I've had one bottle of wine and 2 beers, and this is the 3rd beer since that.
And goldfish.
It's goldfish, but that's not intoxicating. Okay, so the year is 1863. It's June 1863.
Is it hot as it is now?
Yeah, it's probably pretty hot. And Robert E. Lee and his army, the Army of Northern Virginia, have won a series of battles. The second Battle of Bull Run, Fredericksburg, Chancellorsville. So their spirits are up.
Who's winning the war right now?
The Confederacy is winning the war.
Oh no.
But at the same time, they recognize that the Northern Army has more manpower and more industrial resources. And unless they strike a decisive blow in the immediate future, then the war might be lost. And compounding that, oh look, I got a cookie. And compounding that, is General Robert E. Lee has just lost his right-hand man at the Battle of Fredericksburg.
Who was that?
General Stonewall Jackson.
What happened to him?
He was shot. They tried to amputate his arm. Shot by his own men on accident. That happens in the wars. Sometimes, I guess.
Crying shame.
It happens. And so what happened was they tried to amputate his arm and he died. And Robert E. Lee was like, he's lost his left arm and he's dead. And in addition to losing his left arm, he's also dead. But I've lost my right hand. I've lost my right arm, my right hand, which was General Stonewall Jackson. So this is problematic for the Confederacy. But
so they're sad.
Yeah, Robert E. Lee is like, look, I need to strike a decisive blow because I know the presidential election in 1864 is coming up soon, and we need Abe Lincoln out of there.
Who would they elect besides Abe Lincoln?
So we can achieve a truce. Any number of people, really. So they're like, we need to achieve a truce in the war, so we can have the Confederacy, our country, continue on and do what it's doing, slavery, whatever. So he's like, look, here's our plan. We're going to invade the North again. We already did this in 1862, but that stopped in Maryland. So we're going to go even further. We're going to go into Pennsylvania. We're going to really scare those Northerners, and we're going to show them what's up. So, June 1863, Robert E. Lee and his army start to march north, the Army in Northern Virginia. They're marching north. They're like all over Maryland, all over Pennsylvania. They're just marching about, showing off the strength of the Confederacy, of the Confederate Army. And then they're like, some of the soldiers were marching around this small town called Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and they're like, look, there's a rumor going about that there's all these shoes. Yeah.
Shoes?
Because they didn't have a lot of resources in the Confederacy. They're like all marching barefoot or like with like shoes with a bunch of holes in them or whatnot. So they're like, so we heard that there's all these shoes in in Gettysburg.
I went to Gettysburg once and I saw a James Bond movie. Did they have a movie theater back then?
During the war?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No.
But they had the technology later on.
Okay.
So
anyway, shoes.
So they're like, look, we're going to march into this town called Gettysburg. We're going to get these shoes for the army, and then we're going to be able to march a lot better.
Were they planning on stealing the shoes?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it's war. You got to do what you got to do.
But it's a civil war.
Okay, civil.
They were supposed to be civil.
I'm not sure that's what that means, but I understand. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but the point is, they were gonna go get the shoes, so they start marching in. But then there's like these Union soldiers there, and they're like, "Oh, what's going on? These must just be like some militia soldiers or something." So they're like, "Well, we'll just like push through and get the shoes. We'll just keep on pushing and shooting." There's some more light and doing our thing. And so they're like, "Okay, well, so this is July 1st. They start marching in to the battle around
Were they
Fredericksburg.
planning on battling or just
They weren't
getting
necessarily
shoes?
planning on battling, but they wanted to just get the shoes. This is like this alleged story. But as it turns out, these soldiers that they thought were like just random Union militia turned into be actually the Army of the Potomac, the Northern Army. So they didn't realize this at first, and they just kept fighting and fighting, trying to get the shoes.
Where were they fighting?
Who were they fighting?
Where were they fighting?
Around Gettysburg.
Oh, okay.
So what happens is the Northern Army has got more manpower or whatever, so they're able to continue to push the Northern troops back. Just push them back. So after the first day of battling on on June 1st, July 1st of 1863, the Confederates end up sort of pushing the Union troops back through the town. But what happens is, at the end of the day, so there's this ridge around Gettysburg. There's some various hills, and so what the Union Army did was they formed. I wish I had sort of a what do you call it? Like
whiteboard?
A whiteboard.
Do you want me to get you a pen and paper?
A whiteboard? No, just a whiteboard. No, I don't need a pen and paper. It's fine.
Do you want to get a pen and paper?
No, I don't need that. So just they had like a whiteboard. No, they didn't have a whiteboard in 1863. But if I had a whiteboard, I would show you that what happened was the Union Army formed a sort of horseshoe after the first day of battling, a defensive line outside the town of Fredericksburg.
Gettysburg.
Sorry, Gettysburg.
So they're in a horseshoe. Like this?
Around the town.
Like this?
Wait, no. Wait, I don't think I mean a horseshoe. I think what I meant was a fish hook.
Like this?
Yeah, so you've got the main part of the line, and then you got like this little curvy part, which is the fish hook part, not a horseshoe.
Like a beautiful
I'm not sure
Latino
why I
woman?
said that. I'm not sure how that's like a Latino woman.
Continue.
Okay, so it's the end of the first day of the battle, and so the Confederacy has won the first day, though it was this unintentional battle on this field that, was not necessarily of their choosing. Yet, this was like their fate, and they knew they had to act to win the battle, to win the war, to gain their independence.
From the War of Northern Aggression.
Or whatever you want to call it. Do you want some...
I want some goldfish.
So, what happens next is, on the next day of battle, the next day of the battle, the second day, July 2nd.
So who won the first day?
The Confederacy basically won the first day.
They demolished the Northern aggressioners?
Well, they pushed them back, and then they had the line. What I'm talking about is the
fish
horseshoe.
hook.
The horseshoe.
The fish
no,
hook.
the fish hook. I'm sorry, the fish hook. So, you got the fish hook, and at the end of the fish hook, on the hook part, is a series of hills. It's called Big Round Top is one, and the other is called Little Round Top. And General Robert E. Lee, and also General James Longstreet of the Confederacy, realized that if they're going to win this battle, they got to push the Union Army off of this hook part, so they could push off, just win the battle. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
No. Explain
So
it
anyway,
again.
well, what they said was, the end of the line is this hill called Little Round Top. They probably didn't know the name of the hill at the time. They were just like,
Do you want a piece of paper?
no, it's okay. No, I don't need a piece of paper. But the basic gist of it is...
I'm gonna get you a piece of paper.
No.
Here you go.
No, I don't need
Keep
paper.
talking.
The basic gist of it is like, James Longstreet is like, look, if we're gonna win this battle, what we need to do is take Little Round Top and the surrounding area, and then just push them off, and then the whole rest of the Union Army defenses will disintegrate, which will then allow us to kind of get between them and Washington, D.C., and just then force them to sue for peace, because, like, what are they even going to do? I don't know what to do with this. Okay. I don't know how even helpful this is.
Draw it.
Okay. I got a pen here. I got this pen. Okay, so I'm not even sure. I'm not quite sure how I would draw this. Let me give me 1 second. So, okay.
He's drawing right now.
Hold
See?
on. Okay, that's not what I drew. What I drew, I just screwed up. Let me draw on the back. Okay.
So Longstreet is doing things.
So this is like, boom. Basically.
Hold it up to the camera.
Basically, this is not a very good description, but this is what we're looking at here. This is what we're looking at. So that's the Union defenses all along that line. And so right here, there's Little Round Top and the other hills on the edge of the line. And so they're like, look, boom, 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 boom. If we can like attack right here, then we can cause them to retreat, and the whole rest of the line will just fall apart. And they can like win the war, and the country and our you know, the fate of the United States would be like completely different.
So northern aggressors would be defeated.
So what happened here is, James Longstreet and his crew they were from Texas, they were from Kentucky, they were from South Carolina, they were from all over. They're like, we're just going to attack right here. This is on the second day. We're just going to attack right here and win the war. So, what they didn't anticipate was at the very end of the line, the very edge right here, the most important part, was this regiment called the 20th Maine Regiment. And it was commanded by this gentleman called Lawrence Chamberlain. He was a college-educated man.
Who's Custer? Is that coming later?
That's completely unrelated. He was like not in this battle.
Wait, who was it? Pickett.
Yeah, okay, that's coming later.
Okay.
You need to hold on.
Okay.
We're going to need to drink some more beer.
Okay, do you want another beer?
Mm-mm.
No? Do you want some goldfish?
I'm good for now.
Okay.
Okay. So they were like marching up this hill. Boom, boom, boom. They're like, we got to do this. We got to do it for our country, for our way of life, and everything else. But what they didn't anticipate was that there was a regiment at the very end of the line called the 20th Maine.
At the little hooky thing.
Yes, commanded by a gentleman called Lawrence Chamberlain. He was a college-educated man, had no military experience even before the war. But he was like, he understood the importance of this battle. He's like, folks, we gotta hold the line at whatever cost. No matter what happens, we gotta just stand our ground. And so the Alabamans and the Texans and the South Carolinians, let's not talk about that.
But you said stand your ground.
Anyway, they just kept coming and coming and coming. And the Mainers, they would not retreat. They just kept maintaining their position the whole time, while the Confederacy kept coming up the hill, attack after attack after attack. It was not successful. But after some time, the 20th Maine started to run out of ammunition.
Oh no.
So it was either, Lawrence Chamberlain was like, we either need to retreat, which would be an epic collapse.
Wait, is Chamberlain the South or the North?
The North!
The North.
He's from Maine.
Maine.
So he's either like, we either
So
need to
he's running
retreat
out of-
because we got no ammunition, or we need to figure out another plan. So he's like, look, folks, you need to fix your bayonets, because we're going to do a bayonet charge right down the hill. We're just going to wrap them up,
Big
these
round
Confederates, and show them what's up. So they're just marching up the hill.
Are they on Big or Little Round Top?
They're on Little Round Top. So what happens next is Lawrence Chamberlain and his crew just charge right down the hill, because it was the last time. Why do you change it to that view? I feel like that's going to confuse the thing. Turn it back. No, you need to turn it back. Okay. The long minute is fine. Just leave it like that. So Lawrence Chamberlain is like, look, we bayonet charged their asses. We're gonna put them.
Can you explain how a bayonet works?
So I think in the Civil War, you got these rifles. They didn't most.
Were they single load?
Yeah, they were.
What are you doing?
So they would load in the barrel of the gun. So you had to put the bullet like through the barrel of the gun and then ram it in. That's how it worked. So, but anyway, but after all these attacks, they had like run out of ammunition. So Chamberlain and his crew were like, look, fix bayonets. So they put on the bayonets, which is like this big old knife at the end of the gun, and just ran down the hill. It wasn't really a mountain. It's not like a mountain. But they ran down the hill. It was like a wooded hill area. As the Alabamans and the South Carolinians or whatever were like charging up. And they just ended the attack right there, because they can't contend with these maniacs charging with their bayonets. That's just, I mean, what are you supposed to do with that? But anyway, so basically, Lawrence Chamberlain is an American hero on the second day of the war.
Not of the war.
On the second day of the battle, he was successfully defended Little Round Top and the whole rest of the Union line. Because if the 20th Wing had retreated, the whole rest of the line would have just fallen apart.
Because they were at the hooky thing.
That's true, and the country today would be a much different place.
We'd all eat fried chicken for every meal and be obese.
Maybe.
Right?
I mean, a lot of people are still obese today, but it's alright. Anyway, so that was the end of the second day of battle. Some other stuff happened. A lot of other stuff happened too that we can't cover in this short description because we don't really have sufficient knowledge. That's fine.
We?
Okay, so at the end of the second day...
You should unbutton another button right now.
I feel like it's...
To make it more exciting.
This one?
Yeah.
This is like, that's like even inappropriate. Okay, fine.
So we're on the third day.
No, so at the end of the second day, Robert E. Lee was just sort of chilling in his headquarters. And so there's this gentleman named Jeb Stuart.
Oh man, there's a high school named after him in Virginia.
Yeah, a lot of things named after him. So he was the...
What does Jeb stand for?
I think that's just his name.
I
Jeb.
thought it was J-E-B. It's like an initial.
It could maybe stand for something, I don't know.
Can you Google what Jeb Stuart stands
Not
for?
right now, because I'm in the middle of like the description.
Jeb
And
Stuart.
it's not really that important to the whole thing. So what happens is, Jeb Stuart finally makes his way back to Gettysburg. Jeb Stuart was like the cavalry, the head of all the cavalry for the Confederacy.
Was he dreaming?
And he was like, he was a little dreamy. So he was like the eyes and ears of the Confederacy.
Was he the spy master?
Maybe. I wouldn't probably go that far. He's more of like the, what's the word? He's like the one who's like, does the strategery. He's like looking out for where all the Union soldiers are.
He's like the Tyrion Lannister of the Confederate Army.
Maybe. So anyway, but
You
the
should
problem
eat the rest
is, what?
Eat the rest of your cookie.
So the problem is, at this point, he's totally let Robert E. Lee down.
Should he get killed?
No, he didn't get killed,
Oh.
but he was like not very well informing Robert E. Lee what was going on around the area. Because it was like, it was like, how would he know that they were just marching into Gettysburg to fight against the Union Army on this field that was not of their choosing? So it was like, Jeb Stuart, you want to let me down? He like finally rides in, and Robert E. Lee's like, you know, he's a lot older. Jeb Stuart's like in his 30s. He's like, dude, you really let me down. You're supposed to be the eyes and ears of my army, but you've been MIA. He's like, what's going on? And Jeb Stuart's like, Robert E. Lee, I'm like, real sorry. I'm like real sorry, because I was just riding around looking for like northern women, or like the northern women that were really hot or whatever. And I'm sorry that I let you down and let you march in this battle that you didn't even want to fight. And he's like, look, Jeb Stuart, I'm like really disappointed that this happened. This is like putting the fate of our country at jeopardy. But at the same time, he's like, look, I have a plan for the next day of the battle, the third day, that will fix everything and save the future for the Confederate States of America.
How many days is this battle?
3 days.
3 days, okay.
And so Robert E. Lee was like, look, we're going to hit them where they least expect it. Right in the center of the line. And my boy